I stood up a little bit early, I apologize. Good evening, folks. Welcome to tonight's Master Planning Update Steering Committee meeting. John, would you lead us Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Folks, a treat tonight. We have a new member. Renato, please introduce yourself and tell us a little about yourself, please.
Hi, my name is Renato Nakagomi. I have a Japanese last name, Italian first name, and I was born in Brazil. I'm still not. I'm soon to be a citizen from United States. Soon enough, hopefully. I have a background in electrical engineer, so I actually am a bachelor's and master's in electrical engineering, most specifically in power systems engineering. And I want to be part of the master plan. I just moved actually to Littleton. I was living in Acton, in a small condo, and me and my wife, we have a daughter, and we want to find some place that would be nice to raise my kid, and to develop our family. And we found that Littleton was a very nice town, close to Acton actually, because we rely on some daycare there. And we choose Littleton because of the feeling, that is a nice feeling of town. When I came here and I was in the third Thursday, actually, as I said, told before, people were greeting like nicely, and they are welcoming. Like I feel really good here, really welcomed in this town. And I was part of a Green Advisory Board in Acton already. And I always think that it's important for the citizen or for the people from the town to participate in, have some voice in the local politics or the local issues. Because in Brazil we don't have this opportunity a lot, so I really think that's incredible here, how it's managed here in the U.S. Not only Acton, Littleton, but I saw other towns. So this is something that I would like to be part of. So that's why I applied for not only this committee, but also for the sustainability one.
Super. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, Mike, you invited Catherine Tumber from Northeastern to speak to us. If you have a little background, and please introduce Catherine.
I'd like to introduce Ms. Catherine Tumber, who's a senior research associate at the Dukakis Center for Urban and Regional Policy School of Public Policy and Urban Affairs, which is located within Northeastern University. And her background includes, I would have to say, extensive studies of urban, in particular city, as well as town, economic and other development. However, what caught my eye more than anything else was the incredible work that the group did, and with her contribution in particular, for what was called, I believe it's the Greater Boston analysis of housing and its future.
Housing report card, we call it. Yep.
And it was rather thorough, and not only thorough, but it was well-researched, and what I really liked about it, it was a practical guide to which end was up and where to go. And for people who are busy doing planning, who even paid to do this for cities and towns, I felt that it would be invaluable to get some different kind of wisdom for people who volunteer, which is us. So on that basis, it would be real easy for me to decide to invite her. I used various devices, including an opportunity to meet a former jet pilot, which, by the way, was the main reason she agreed to come. My offer for dinner went down. However, the opportunity to meet, and by the way, he's
Is he the
over the
one?
hill. Yeah, he's over the hill. You're late to the game.
His burners are out.
Yeah, no, that's a bit graphic.
Single
Anyway,
engine,
welcome
single
very much to our formal Stuffy group, and we're very interested in hearing from you not only about the particular tool, and I'm sure Paul will bring you up to date on the latest developments as appropriate, but we're very interested to hear not only about the tool, but also your thoughts so that we could get some guidance in our ability, as I told you earlier, to guide us a bit for our thinking and our activity for planning.
It's a tall order.
Welcome.
See what I can do.
As Michael said, I know he's giving you the background. We've been meeting now for a few months. Still nascent stages as we're trying to reach out to other folks. We've had MASPC, we've had other towns come in, people in various stages of their master plan update. Some having recently completed, some a little bit in the past, and some very close to completing. Boxborough, most notably, is very close to completing theirs.
Their master plan.
Yes, ma'am. So we had those folks out here also, and basically, a bit of a picking the brains and stuff, and then, pepper us with the information that you see that can help us. We're a small town, 9,000 people, give or take. We, right now, at the master plan request for proposal. In fact, the pile you see right there on the table is the latest iteration after our team subcommittee's gone through it. Town council's looked at it, as of other people in town, and have looked at it, edited it, and we're going to begin the process of the entire board having its real first peek at this now, most recently edited as of today version. So that's where we are. So we've released nothing, and we're looking at actually having an award for a professional planner to be our consultant as we move forward, and have that awarded at the very beginning of the new year, so first couple weeks or so of January. So that's where we are in this process.
Can I ask you a question
ma'am.
about this? I went through the website just a little bit, I had a little bit of time to prepare, not much, but I did notice that you reestablished an economic development
Yes, we have.
committee in 2013. Has that been active?
Yes, in fact, they have issued a plan already and spoken with the town somewhat. Been in front of the Board of Selectmen with their findings up to this point. They've been at a level over, they've surveyed folks in town, collected a considerable
I
amount of
saw that.
data, and really have informed the other committees in town at this point.
Good.
And again, those relationships too, as we work to collaborate together and stuff, even those are in the nascent stages as we look at this. And as you know well, that the economic development plan will be certainly one of the pillars of our master plan.
Yes. Can I take one of those?
Oh, certainly.
And also, we haven't met. I think I
Hi.
met everybody else.
Oh, sorry. Hi, I'm Melissa Hebert. Nice to meet you, Board of Selectmen.
Hebert?
Yes, like the candy.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I'll grab one of these while I'm over this way. Well, I should warn you, I've never done this before. I've never been asked to basically pitch the EdSat program. Usually Barry Bluestone has done that in the past, and I'm also relatively new at the Dukakis Center. I was a visiting scholar there for two years on the basis of a book I wrote on small industrial cities like Fitchburg, what we in Massachusetts call gateway cities. And in that capacity, the book is called Small, Gritty, and Green, The Promise of America's Smaller Industrial Cities in a Low-Carbon World. And on the basis of that, I was invited to come and, have a desk and colleagues and use of the library. And they put me on some soft money grants while I was running around the country giving talks about my book. It really got quite a bit of attention. It was surprising. But when this job came open, I was hired for it. So I have been with the Dukakis Center in this role as senior research associate since last December, and we're in the process of making quite a few changes to the program. And for that reason, I don't want to show the whole show. Partly for that reason, also because we don't have time. Because some of the things that are in the earlier part of the show, the slideshow, are not quite accurate, and we need to update it. In fact, yeah, we really do need to update it. I looked at it more carefully today in preparation for this, and there are a couple of things that are a bit misleading. So my other title there, which I don't usually use very often, but it's appropriate here, is Executive Director of EdSat. And EdSat is called the Economic Development Self-Assessment Tool. That's the acronym. So what I'd like to do is start on slide 25. And while you're finding that, I'll just make a few introductory remarks. And after we talk about EdSet, then maybe we can talk a little bit about your broader vision for, planning, since that is the mandate of this particular committee. EdSet has been in existence since about 2005, so it's about 10 years old. And, in the context of the times, we felt, I'm using the royal we here because I just told you I started last December, that there was a lot of pressure on localities to take seriously local economic development at that time. There was an environment that had been long-standing, actually, at that point, of fiscal constraint on both the federal levels and on the state level. So, there's a lot less federal funding coming in for different programs. Housing programs come to mind immediately. And there's a lot less, transfer, funding transfer from the state in the form of local aid. And then, of course, we went through the recession. That made it all the more necessary for municipalities to think about local economic development. And then, of course, as you all know, Massachusetts does not allow municipalities to raise their own income tax, and so there's special pressure on how to develop revenue streams, and so to prevent property taxes from being the primary or even the sole source of revenue. Not sole, but in many communities, especially these suburban communities, property taxes provide the balance of the majority of the revenue. It's important to develop commercial enterprises and businesses and the private sector. So that's why we decided to come up with this economic development self-assessment tool. And it was originally intended for these faltering gateway cities, what we call gateway cities. And the first few municipalities that went through the EdSet process were Brockton, Fitchburg, Holyoke, Lynn, I think, Fall River, New Bedford, the gateway cities. And people found it so useful, and word got out that it had been it didn't necessarily turn these cities around, obviously, but it was useful in a number of ways, and word got out that it helped people get to the same table and talk about economic development, people who don't ordinarily sit around the same table, and understand what the realities of their communities were. Not what people's different opinions were, but what common ground everyone shared. And so at this point, we have done EdSet programming with 110 municipalities. 75 of them are in Massachusetts, and the rest are in other parts of the country. We may be expanding it even further. A lot of them are in New England, but we've done some in Kansas, Florida, different Colorado. I think there was one that was out in Washington State. It's a really great opportunity to do two things. One is, to do a SWOT analysis. I don't know if you know what that is, SWOT, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats.
Yeah.
I always forget what the T is.
Yeah, exactly.
It should be C, like challenges
Yeah,
or something,
exactly.
SWOT.
I like threats.
But it also provides a comparative analysis with what other municipalities are doing. So you get to see in the report that we write, and I will tell you more about that in a minute, and the analysis that we do, you get to see where you fall in relation to what we call comparison group municipalities, so how you compare. So there's an additional, sort of like measure in the analysis. So, a lot of these towns have, there tends to be conflict or alienation or just talking past each other about economic development, and sometimes, you know, real animosity. And it, you know, this allows people to, one of the great values of it, in addition to providing the analysis, is that it gets municipal leaders, business groups, developers, community service organizations like the Lions Club and people like that, you know, cultural and anchor institutions like, you know, local hospitals. I don't know if you know that term, anchor institutions, universities. It's a term of, you know, it's a term that's used a lot in urban planning. Nonprofits, and just interested community members around the table to talk about this stuff, about what's effective, what's appropriate given what your SWOT is, and what's feasible for economic an economic development strategy. So, what the method is, I'm not sure what this. Okay, let's start. Yeah, okay. We'll hold on here a second. What we did, and I'll just, you know, I'm not going to make this more complicated than it has to be, which is why I wanted to skip all those first pages. We brought in 2 organizations, they're trade organizations, of people who do site location for businesses. They're specialists in this, and one of them is called, I always forget the name of it, it's a long name. Well, I don't have it here. NIOP, and the other is called CoreNet. And we surveyed them. There were something like 600 people we surveyed, and they came from various regions of the country, and they had specialties in various kinds of businesses. It wasn't all corporate by any means. And, you know, when you hear that, you know, site selection, I tend to think of, you know, where the next Walmart's going to go or something. But these were really very different sizes. And one of the other things that they advise on in their line of work is how to retain the businesses that you have. So it's not just about moving businesses around. And we asked them, what are the things that you think are what are the most important things that you look at in deciding where to, you know, how to advise the businesses that you are that are your clients? And they came up with something like 120 or something location factors. And then they grouped them by 10, and there are 10 sections under, you know, 10 headings that they come under. And these are the 10 headings. Sections on access to markets, or ease of access to markets, concentration of businesses and services, the cost of land, cost of labor, municipal processes like permitting, the quality of life in the community, the quality of life for, which is kind of a funny way of putting, I have to think of it, the quality of life that surrounds potential sites for development, the business incentives that are available, tax rates in the community, and then, oh, it's over there, that's why you guys are looking over there. I couldn't figure that out. And then access to information from the outside, and that's basically really all about the website. So they came up with these 220 some odd location factors, divided into 10 categories. And then, importantly, it's not just a survey, they also weighted them. So they determined which ones were most important, which ones were important, and which ones were less important. They're all important, but they give you some sense of hierarchy, you know, of the relative value of each of these things. So, so those are the 10 categories. I'm not sure what's in here. I had to print it out to remind myself. So the way it works is there's a contact person who is, and it's usually someone on staff, so, you know, a planner or an economic development person, who has access to this questionnaire of 220 some odd questions, broken down into 10 sections. And that person works with the right people in the town to get the answers to the questions. The assumption that we bring to it is that no one person knows all the answers to these questions. And so the questionnaire is filled out, and we urge people to do that as quickly as possible. You know, there's a lot of procrastinating that goes on for understandable reasons. People are busy, but the faster the process goes, the more fresh the results are, because the comparison group keeps changing, because we keep doing it. We keep doing the survey, I mean, the EdSat analysis with different municipalities, and it changes over time. So people fill out the survey, and then we have what we call a workshop. It goes for about 2 hours, and that is an opportunity to bring more people into a meeting, and we have as many as like 100 people for a town of 10,000, or 15 for a town of 50,000. It really varies, and it really depends a lot on who the town wants to invite. And we go through, you know, explain what EdSat is, so people understand what it is and how it works. And then we go through, and we go through the entire questionnaire, and we ask people if they agree with the answers. And you'd be surprised by how often they disagree. And the reason for that is that often, you know, sometimes, I shouldn't say often, but sometimes people give answers that they don't really have, you know, accurate information on, or they might be inclined to give self-serving answers, because they might want to seem like things are more rosy than they are. And this way, you have some accountability to a larger group all sitting down together.
Take some of
And-
the emotion out of the discussion.
Yeah.
Facts-based.
Yeah, that's right. And it helps people to see different points of view about this, too. But the main purpose of this really is to get information that is accurate. More times than not, what happens is that people get this sense that this is a test for their various departments that they represent, and they're on the hot seat. Or they get the impression that this is an evaluation of the city that will be shared with the rest of the world. And neither could be further from the case. The results of the EdSat tool and the report that we give you is entirely your property. It is guarded with our lives, and no one else has access to it. Some people decide to share it with others, but that's entirely up to the town. That's not our. We take it and we keep it in confidence. So you answer the questionnaire, and excuse me. Then we take it back to the office, and we look at these results, which would show us where your town compares with all the other towns we've done this with. And then, on the basis of that, and on the basis of the conversations that we heard around the table, or in the hall, it's usually, it's more people than this. It's always more people than this. We write a report that...
2 is more people than this.
Yeah, that's right. More than 0. We write a report summarizing the results. So you get the tabular results, and there's a picture.
Slide 34, maybe. Does it have the colors and things?
Yes,
Slide 34.
it's toward the end.
The Harvey balls.
This is, yeah,
You mean the survey results?
the survey results.
Is that it there?
Yeah. This is an example of a survey result, just one section. And you can see that, whatever this town was, we color code them. We show where they're strong. That's a green. We call it the traffic light for obvious reasons. if you have an evaluation that's green, you're doing well relatively. If you have a yellow, you're within average range, and if it's red, you have a weakness. And so you have that, but we also provide a broader analysis. So we provide a sort of brief narrative summation of your strengths and weaknesses. And with the weaknesses, we rank them. And then at the end of it, we write a narrative section called Next Steps, where we advise you on what kinds of things you should probably be thinking about and how you might be thinking about them. I mean, this is not, I should clarify that this is not really consulting. It's a tool that might help you to decide what you want to hire a consultant to do, or find someone on staff to do, or improve your processes within. That was a bad sentence, but I think you know what I meant. So, no, we're not going to go that far, actually. And what else? And then, after we write the report, we send it back to you if you have any change. Sometimes there are errors in it, or there's missing information that we weren't able to get. Then Barry Bluestone comes out, and he gives a 1-hour presentation to whomever you want to invite. Again, oftentimes people open this up to the entire community. Hi.
I'm late.
That's okay. What's your name?
Oh, Richard Crowley.
Hi, Richard.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. I just looked over and there you were. Anyway, Barry comes out and he gives a presentation with a PowerPoint that summarizes the results and talks about the recommendations. And he also puts the report in the context of a basic economic profile of your community. So you get that additional sort of contextual information. And you get time with Barry, and he's quite dynamic.
Barry is the director,
He's the-
founding director of the Dukakis.
Of the Dukakis Center, right. So, and he will spend time with people to talk about their questions and their concerns as a result of, after having seen the presentation. And then that's it. And then you're on your own. So, let's see what else, if there's anything that's worth looking at here in this presentation that I haven't covered. Why don't we go to the one that says uses for EdSat results? That's probably page 27 or something, 25, 26, 28. That's 29. There are two of them that have the same title. Yeah. So these are the reasons why EdSat it can be so useful. They can help you to really define and refine your economic development strategy and goals. And often people don't know that what they're missing until they go through this process. So that that's what we mean by saying refining. It helps you refine your goals and define them. It helps you, and we call this, in these reports, we call them deal breakers and deal makers. It helps you to identify deal breakers and deal makers within the municipality and the kinds of services that municipalities are offering to attract or retain business. It can help you to think in terms of, and we suggest ways of turning what could be deal breakers for potential employers into deal makers, and what to give up on, too. I mean, there's some things you just can't change. You can't change the fact that you're, 2 hours from Logan Airport in traffic? There's some things you just can't change, and those kinds of things have to be factored into your economic development planning, obviously. But there might be some things, that's an obvious one, but there could be things that you haven't thought about that we can help you with, help you identify. It could also help you to benchmark your current economic development plan, should you have one. I'm not sure if you guys have one. Do you have one that's embedded in your master plan, or is that something that,
To be.
yeah? Not everybody does. In fact, many people don't.
I don't know, do you explain our concept?
No, I figured I figured I'd wait till we're
Okay,
finished.
fair enough.
No, that's,
Should we wait?
oh, please.
Okay. And then in the next page, there are yet more uses for EdSat. They can help you to think through and develop plans for integrating how to develop your marketing plan for the town and how to attract, better attract the attention of potential employers. It can also help to, and it sounds like you're already doing a little bit of this on your own with Boxborough, at least in terms of your master plan.
I haven't asked other towns, when you talk about marketing.
Yeah.
We're actually going out for a grant to look at a marketing plan for the town.
Oh, you are?
We are. Keith Bergman, our town administrator, is working that right now.
Oh,
Regional collaboration, the last mile, you may be familiar with it.
no.
Transportation, how do we get people from the train station to where they need to be in a particular town?
I haven't heard of it. I've got to write that down. It's a program?
It is. Run on, oh gosh, help me here. What's the executive department in the state?
May I start, you mean?
Yeah, Secretary Pollock's office.
Yeah.
And I've just gone stupid on your whole title. But anyway, in fact...
Secretary of
between the-
Transportation.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Between the surrounding towns, we actually did win a regional award that'll be conferred out in Seattle, and it's the collaboration of town administrators and town managers.
Uh-huh.
The national organization. In fact, our town administrator will be going out for that at the end of September. So some
What's
of
the
things-
award for?
It was for regional planning. Let's see, I can remember now. Westford, Boxborough, Acton, us. There was one other town. Groton.
Maynard.
Maynard, you're absolutely right. It was Maynard. Thank you.
And this is in relation to
Last mile work.
transportation?
Yes, ma'am.
It's called the Last Mile Award. Ah.
Well, that's not the name of the award.
Oh, okay.
The Last Mile is the program itself on how do we work together.
That's really great. That's important. I mean, in terms of economic development, among other things. There are all kinds of reasons why that's good. Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's impressive. So, yeah, it can help to define ways in which you can better collaborate regionally, and not just for transportation, but for other kinds of, other ways of collaborating. And it can help help people to better understand how to integrate the municipal processes with the imperatives of economic development. So I know that sounds kind of abstract, but so that's what people find useful about it. I mean, that's what we hope they find useful, and we have, and we've had plenty of positive feedback on it. People in fact, the program just keeps proliferating. And we have to hire some more people to help with this. But that's inside baseball. So we also have in the next page some testimonials if you want to see them. What folks are saying. The partnership has provided me with the knowledge and assistance I need to understand and respond to the rapidly changing economic environment, to be an effective leader for economic development in my city. Council member of Charlotte, North Carolina. We could move on to, I'd like you to see what Jay Ash had to say, who's now, there he is. This is a great roadmap for the essentials for benchmarking our city's economic development policy. As you probably know, he's now the head of community and economic development for the state and former mayor of Chelsea. He's a rising star, I think, in the political world. and he is very much a supporter of this. I think Chelsea's gone through this program twice. People do it more than once. I mean, it's been around now since 2005. I think the first one was actually conducted in 2006, and so, some time has passed. And at the end, we have just, I showed you what a sample result was. There are 5 of them here. I don't know if you have an interest in seeing all 5, but just to give you a sense of what the tabular results look like. That's not the narrative. We're not going to get into that part. It looks more wonkish and difficult to understand than it really is. Once you really get what the method is, and the narrative provides a sort of gateway to the results. And we provide both because some people are more visually oriented. They just want to see the chart. Thank you very much. Other people really need the narrative to make sense of it. So, and some people do both. So we provide both. We aim to please.
Not asking you to identify the municipality, but is that a real result there?
I don't know. This was put together before I
All I
got
ask is when I
here.
look at 17 and 18, and we're talking nearly a
I
year.
noticed that too. That seems exceptionally high to me.
with the
It's not
average
only a
being
red light, but
less than
it's
2
like,
months.
you should come to a screeching halt with numbers like that.
Maybe that stimulated change for the time it was done.
Right. So that's my little presentation.
Would you entertain questions
Does
from us?
does anybody have any questions about it, or?
Just 2 things, actually. Number one, I actually read through the entire presentation before we got here, because
Oh,
I found
okay.
it really interesting, and so I personally love the content, sorry, and the idea, and I thought you explained it really, really well, so
Oh, thank
I don't
you.
have any questions, actually.
I follow her suit.
Because you read the whole thing, too.
From page,
Rich, I came in late. Where's the Dukakis?
Northeastern University, it's part of the School of Public Policy and Urban Affairs.
And is it accessible? Is this an outreach program from Northeastern? Or is this something embedded in the college program, college curriculum? Or is that-
The Dukakis Center is a think tank, and it's not really affiliated. I mean, Barry Bluestone, who's the founder and executive director of the Dukakis Center, he teaches. He's on the faculty. But the Dukakis Center's mission is to analyze data and write reports on issues related to public policy. So we do a housing report card for Metropolitan Boston once a year. In fact, we're right in the middle of doing one. It's a very busy time. We're working on a report right now on the condition of the state's vocational education system and how well it aligns or doesn't align with coming trends and with the demands of the workplace, what employers need, what kinds of skills employers need. We do, until it was Stephanie Pollack, the the Secretary of Transportation, used to be with the Dukakis Center. She was there. She was on the faculty, and she wrote with her staff quite a few nationally important reports on the condition of public transportation. It's not all public transportation either, but that's her focus. And it's a good thing that Charlie Baker made her, Secretary of Transportation, given the state of our mass transit in Metro Boston.
How does the,
So she was there, and we're not doing as much transportation work as we did, but we're continuing to do it, and we do labor market work too. So we mainly do these studies and analyses.
how do you attract the right brain power for addressing such a wide variety of very important issues?
You mean attract
How do you-
people to work at the Dukakis
How do
Center?
you find the individuals with the right background and experience to help make
I guess,
decisions like that? You cover such a wide variety
yeah,
of
we do.
things.
We fill in gaps, like with Stephanie Pollock leaving, we might need to hire someone with a specialty in transportation. And truthfully, people who work with the School of Public Policy, the people on the faculty, Michael Dukakis teaches political science in the school. Barry Bluestone is involved with many, many, many initiatives throughout the state. He was just on the Boston 2024 committee, organizing committee. He was the head of the co-chair of the Legacy Subcommittee. He knows a lot of, so when openings come up, he knows, he has a lot of networks to work with.
Okay.
But they're also posted jobs. I mean, it's not like it's,
I'm curious because you seem to approach so many different areas of expertise. It's hard to find people that are expert in any one area, never mind several
yeah,
areas.
no, it's true.
I think there might be a communication gap here. I think as I understand it, and from background investigation, I don't mean to break in.
No,
but
please, yeah,
we're-
I'm all set.
The questionnaire and the approach is really developed as a result of this group's querying of professionals all over the country whose job it is to bring companies and businesses of all sizes into towns.
Oh, okay, I see where the, yes,
Okay?
there was a communication.
Okay, so in other words, they're not talking to academics only, they're not talking to business people, they're talking to people whose job it is. They're hired by, let's say, I'll give an example, like locally, I'm sure everyone here knows, there's a Medtronic division here. Of Medtronic, sitting right in Littleton. Medtronic is a billion-dollar international company that's in medical instrumentation. But the division here is just for navigation equipment. The one right up the road in Westford does something completely different. Why is this? Well, a little conversation reveals that whoever placed Medtronic here looked at certain characteristics of the town. And those are the kind of people hired by the companies of large and small size who provide the base information that forms the basis of their questionnaire.
They're called site location specialists. They're people who make careers doing this. And they're the ones who came up with the questions on the questionnaire. And they're the ones who also ranked the questions as important, or very important, important, and less important.
How's
So
their track record in terms of meeting their goals? When they
Who knows? It's up to us to take the information, use it with the help of other people, to come up with a plan that captures. This reveals our weaknesses, which I'm especially interested in, and our strengths, which I'm also interested, I'm sure we all are. So, I'm not saying we should buy in, I'm just simply saying that's what it does. And it's up to us to decide which of these things. It's basically what the TSA might give us going through Logan.
That's not a good analogy. Gary? I'm doing that tomorrow morning.
Yeah, that's why I gave it to you.
I was just curious, what's the timeline? How long does this process take? And is there a fee charged for the service?
Yes, it really depends much on the town. You know, I mean, if you fill it out in an expeditious manner, it can take from the time that you have access to the survey to the time that Barry Bluestone comes and gives his presentation. It's usually 2 to 3 months, but you can make that a much shorter period of time if you go through the questionnaire quickly. And most people take at least 2 months just doing that, and then we need a little time to write up the results.
Who should fill out
Analyze
these?
the result.
Who should fill out these questions?
Pardon me?
Who should be filling out these questions?
Well, there's a contact person. Only one person has access. We have a website for the questionnaire, and we give one person access to that, their email address and a password. That person is responsible for getting the answers to all the questions.
And where does he go
Because
to
no
get
one
these?
person knows all the answers to all the questions. They have to consult the real estate, experts in the town. They need to consult the permitting and zoning office about those kinds of questions. Whoever handles the website or doesn't, you'd be surprised how little attention is paid to that in some towns. That person is responsible for sort of like herding the cats, and getting the answers. And then when we have the workshop, it's an opportunity to make sure that the answers are accurate and make sure that everybody's more or less on the same page about
Who
the
attends
accuracy of
that?
those answers. What's that?
Who attends the workshop then?
It really varies from town to town. It's usually town officials from various departments. Sometimes the town administrator or the mayor, depends on what form of government you have, the head, cheese, will be there, sometimes not. And the business community, chambers of commerce, bankers,
Small Business Association?
small businesses, business leaders. We had one town where there was really one primary business in town. And he was really, it was really kind of old-fashioned. He really called almost all the shots in the town, you could tell. And he was there. Sometimes you have members of, well, I guess this would also fall under the category of small businesses, people in the arts community. Like in one town, there was an owner of a movie theater that also had different programming at the theater. It was an old-fashioned movie theater, and he was there. People, sometimes, what we used to call fraternal organizations, community service organizations like the Elks and the Lions, sometimes they'll turn out in full force. It's a matter of who you choose to invite. And those are the kinds of people that we encourage you. Oh, and also nonprofits. I mean, some towns have quite a large nonprofit presence, particularly if there's considerable poverty. And I mentioned before what are called anchor institutions, large nonprofit institutions like museums, hospitals, universities or colleges, because there's usually a lot that you can do to work with them on a number of issues. And they're players in economic development, ideally.
Do you have more,
So-
Gary?
Just one other question related to comparables, because the red, green, and amber is basically compared to, other towns that are comparable. What would be considered a comparable? Is it based upon size, location, background, demographics? What would be this?
Yeah, they're not comparable. We just throw all of the other towns and cities that have participated in it into the mix.
Okay.
But we do have the capacity, and we haven't done this yet because we just updated and refined the website where the survey lives. And, all of the algorithms that are underneath it. We do have the capacity to only do a comparison among municipalities in one state, so in one's state, meaning Massachusetts in your case. But we don't have the capacity to refine it more than that, and I think that that's it's a methodological weakness, but it's I don't think it's to use EdSat language, I don't think it should be seen as a deal breaker, because just going through and seeing what the questions are and seeing and having a group conversation about these issues is inherently useful. And I was going to say something else.
I should think that even with something that may be rated strong by this comparison, a particular municipality may say, yeah, but it's still an area for improvement.
Yeah.
Maybe strong relatively speaking. So as an assessment tool, you know, we've all gone through that some way, shape, or form, I should think. And that we said, yeah, that's all good. And maybe one of the weaknesses, you said, yeah, it is a weakness compared to the rest of the municipalities, but it's not something we're going to devote any resources to.
Right.
No.
There's that, and also, you know, where, you know, for example, there aren't that many Brocktons, but there are a lot of Lakevilles, you know what I mean? So, you know, we, in the narrative part of the report, if there's a, you know, an evaluation that seems really way off, we account for that in the narrative. We try to account for this limitation in the narrative.
The outliers, okay.
Yeah. And to answer your other question, the fee is, it's $5,000. But if you belong to the Mass Municipal Association, and I think all 351 municipalities in Massachusetts do you?
Right, yes.
There's a 10% discount, so $4,500.
And that's the, what Keith, town administrator, was working with state economic development on a possible grant for funding that.
Who was that? Who was doing that?
Our town administrator.
Oh,
I don't recall who at the state.
Juan Vega,
Deal.
basically, there's a great interest on the part of this current administration to stimulate outreach on the part of towns that are sitting, or are concerned.
uh-huh.
And Littleton is a good candidate to get a grant from the state to pay.
Is this a DLTA grant?
Um,
And I'm forgetting.
The
what
acronyms are
DLTA
not
stands for.
known to me. This is from Housing Economic Development. of the
Yes.
state. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're the ones who are basically pushing, and this will be the origin. I think the town officially has to review and accept or
Yeah.
apply and go through a
Yeah.
process, and, you know.
Yeah.
So we already know the discount.
Oh, good, okay. Yeah, Greg Bielecki, the former head of Community and Economic Development for the state, made sure that EdSat was eligible for this funding. So quite a few communities have used that as a source.
So, Renata?
No, I haven't.
After the survey's filled out and you guys go through and do the analysis, what's the balance of qualitative versus quantitative analysis in the tool?
I'd say that most of it's quantitative. The reports are, we've cut some of what used to be in the reports. You know, there's a sort of, this is something that I've done since I started running it. There was a sort of mission creep that took over. It became bloated. You know, people would work on them and they'd add sections, and they didn't really, you know, they didn't really add that much, and it left opportunity for redundancy, and it didn't really improve the quality of the report. So we have, it's now about 40 pages, I would say 25 are the tabular results, you know, the traffic light result, the chart. Maybe 7 pages, what did I say, 30, it's about 40 pages, about 7 pages are introductory material, introducing people to the whole concept. And then we have about 4 pages of, you know, strengths and weaknesses. Yeah, and very important and less important categories. And then at the end, we have 2 or 3 pages, single-spaced, of what will be called next steps, things that we think people should really prioritize and give more thought to. And we tailor these reports to the extent we can. I mean, you know, there is a limit to how, you know your town in any depth, meaningful depth. We try to tailor these to some of the specific circumstances of each town, and to not use, you know, language that's too abstract. We'll talk about specific schools and, you know, overlay districts, and if you have any, and I noticed that you have Littleton Common. It seems like that's kind of an important thing in terms of economic development. I don't know if it's gotten off the ground, but
We have done the overlays.
yeah.
You could
Is it
speak much
underway?
more articulately to the overlays.
Well, we have done zoning where we did add 2 overlays, and
Uh-huh.
one was very successful, and the other is we've set some of the groundwork, but we know more work is to be done before you can actually get any growth in that area.
Is that the one, is that
It's the
Littleton
village.
Common?
Yeah.
That's the one that's having trouble with the, more troubled. I'm not sure what language to
Well,
use.
it would be redevelopment rather than new development.
Oh, I see, okay, huh.
See, we did
But that kind of thing would show up in the report, I would think, because it seems like it's an important initiative, recent initiative.
We did an overlay on the other side of 495, well, actually, it starts this side of 495.
Uh-huh.
And we had a piece of land that sat for almost 28 years without any development because it was zoned industrial. And industry left the town 30
Yeah.
years ago.
Yeah.
Once the overlay came in, within 9 months, we had a project. That's going in over across the street now.
What kind of project?
It was kind of like a lifestyle center, a mix
Uh-huh.
of commercial,
Uh-huh,
retail,
yeah,
office, and medical was in there.
yeah,
There'd be a movie theater. So it's a full mix along with
yeah,
walking
mm-hmm,
parks, along with walking and you know, they'll have fire pits there.
mm-hmm,
So places for people to come and go,
Mhm.
destinations.
uh-huh,
The
entertainment.
Point is the name of it.
The Point.
The Point, yes. The developer is Sam Park.
Yeah, I think I saw this referred
But
to.
that was a direct result of the overlay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like stores in there like Market Baskets, to the Starbucks, AT&T, Hair Cuttery, O'Neill Cinemas is building in there.
Uh-huh.
Let's see, getting it's Tavern on the Square restaurant.
Hotel. We
Hotel.
You know,
We went
so
through-
it's that expansive.
uh-huh,
we went through the building code, and we looked at all the uses that were in the building code. We picked and chose the ones that we wanted to see over there.
yeah, that makes sense.
And that fit right in with the permit.
Mm-hmm,
So
Did you-
we seek, well, that's the word I'm looking for. We connected the two. We integrated the two.
integrated the two.
Mike?
One more question I had was, you alluded to this a little bit. Do you get, how often is there a comparison of the different towns that submit, or cities that submit, and comparing the results that some towns might get for that to make the algorithm smarter? I mean, is it the same set of assumptions that when it was originally built? Or are you constantly tweaking it to make a determination of, well, that recommendation or that piece of information wasn't
Oh, I
as
see what
pertinent
you're
as
saying.
we thought it was, and, let's make this a better tool?
That's also something that, there are a few instances, surprisingly few, but there are a few instances where that's the case, and I'll give you an example. In the section on the website, the site location experts said that was a less important location factor. And of course, that is no longer the case, so we, even though that's how it shows up in the tool, as not that important, we make sure that people understand this is really important. And it's really easy to fix, too, if you have a problem with your website. It's not like building a rail line or something. It's relatively easy. So there are maybe 3, that's the first one that comes to mind, that are a little off. Oh, another one that we ask people, and we probably should, we asked them about SAT scores, and we ended up having to get rid of that. I think it's still, you still see it in the report, but because they've changed the way that they tabulate SAT scores, we just couldn't get a usable,
Change it again.
comparison number, so we just had to get rid of that. But it's still pretty, I mean, on balance, it's still very current. At some point, we may have to do a complete overhaul, but I don't see that on the horizon.
Thank you.
You want to expand on anything?
The only comment I make is that where the subcommittee is at the moment in putting together our, shall we say, first cut of approach, which the committee as a whole has to discuss and decide on, is the idea is to be driven by what we might call economics with a capital E. That is, the whole plan would be informed by, driven by, concerned with that, and it's defined, for convenience, well, actually, to capture really what modern economics is, it includes transactional economics, the usual neoclassic, classic approach, and the other part is basically social capital, which I was happy to see embedded in the tool, and by the way, it's elsewhere. I mean, like, since the 90s, it's sort of come forward. And I'm very interested in the tool to the extent that it would, even though the people who live in the town, especially those who've been here for a while, know the town very well. Knowing and seeing are two different things.
Oh, yes.
And
that's-
I have the advantage of being so new that I'm not, people are not even sure I should live here. So when I see, and I've brought others with me who
Strong
come from
self-assessment.
foreign lands, who come from foreign countries, far and wide, just take a look, as far away as, New Haven and other places to look.
Other exotic environs.
Yes, and it's important that the town see. And I'm very interested in anything that allows the wiser heads that sit around, that have responsibility in this town, see, not just know. So it's one of the reasons that we've been very interested in talking about using economics with a capital E as the driver, as the shaper of our plan, because it is going to be economics in its broadest sense that will either push this town forward or tend to impede us to make life better for the people here. And the one thing about your analysis, I'm trying to, it's not necessarily different from, I'm trying to fit it in, and that is that how many towns attract businesses by giving such strong, what we call tax incentives? And what I mean by that, if you
Oh,
be
I know
very
what you
careful.
mean.
The state I know
Yeah.
provides tips, but also towns can turn around and do it. And yes, we have certain kinds of development here in town that are under the classification of economic development, but it'll take 10 to 12 years before anything will appear in the tax rolls that have any impact whatsoever.
Right.
Okay?
Well, with
And
tax, oh, go
I
ahead.
just want to finish. And the other piece is the talent and negotiating, I have to use this sort of bluntly, is the negotiating capacity of the town. And I don't necessarily mean the regulatory. What I mean is having the talent inside the town that can promote, induce, cause a company to come here without having to give away the family jewels. That's one of the other things that must be seen. So,
Well, one of the things that we found when we consulted these site location specialists is that, and again, I'm using the royal we, because it was a while ago, is that tax incentives are surprisingly peripheral, not central to the negotiations that get underway when you are trying to attract a business to town. They can be useful once you have gone through all of the other, satisfied all the other concerns that a potential employer may have who's considering this as a appropriate site for the business. But it's more like the icing on the cake. And
It shouldn't be the deciding factor up front to bring somebody into
Yeah,
town.
and for most businesses, it's not.
And do you think they would come anyways?
Yeah. Once they have already committed to, they've already spent all this time. I can't speak for all businesses, of course, but this is the general perspective of these site location experts. That once you have gone through all the other things that they care about, transportation, time to market, permitting, zoning, concerns. The quality of the labor force. They've already made up their mind. If they can go check about all those things that are most important to them, the tax incentives they'll probably try for, but they aren't going to be a deal breaker, according to the experts. I was surprised to see that myself, because I've written in my own work quite a bit about tax incentives and how outlandish they are, in my personal opinion.
Yeah.
And I also think that you might see more renegade use of tax incentives and desperate use of them in less affluent parts of the country. It's a real problem in places like Ohio and upstate New York, because they're willing to do just about anything, and many of these businesses know that they have the squeeze on these municipal officials, you know. I don't think it's as much of a problem here. That's me. That's not the site location specialists.
Just one other. You put your finger on another, shall we say, another area, and I was trying to extract it out of it, and that is that the existing labor force, and I mean that in a broad sense, the skill sets that exist in a town can play a significant role in being attracted. And as you reduce those skill sets, as the skill set of the town, in other words, the town doesn't have an employment problem. It's a bedroom town. Everyone gets up in the morning and goes out. Mm-hmm. So in other words, where the town itself, broadly speaking, employs relatively few residents, mm-hmm. where the businesses in the town employ relatively few residences. Not how often, but how useful would this tool really be for a town that has that kind of characteristic? In other words, a relatively, quote, affluent bedroom town, uh-huh. where people can go outside the town. How much of an impact can this have? It's a rhetorical question.
For inspiring a whole new sector, basically?
Or for looking at economic development differently. Yes, almost, yeah. Either given where it's at or not. I mean, have you ever seen a situation like that?
Yes. Not necessarily as a result of EDSAT.
Right.
But that is the hardest approach to economic development, is to try to create a sector out of whole cloth. But what you can do, and this is where the regional collaboration piece can be very useful. You can look at what are in neighboring communities and help to develop a labor base for companies that might want to expand in their current locations, or attract similar companies and sort of put together what's called a cluster of businesses who do the same kind of work and need the same kinds of employees, or that can spur the development of small businesses that are part of a supply chain. That EDSAT can be useful for, but it's called leapfrog. I mean, there are different terms for these kinds of development approaches, economic development strategies, but creating a new sector out of whole cloth is about the hardest thing you can do. And there's all this talk about startup communities and stuff like this, like as if you can just sort of plop yourself in the middle of nowhere and bring a bunch of talent in with tech skills and that almost never really happens. And I've read some of this literature, so you don't have to. And what you find is that almost always there's a big, legacy firm nearby, that's been there for years. I'm trying to think of, it was somewhere in Colorado I was reading about. General Dynamics. It was an old defense firm. that was nearby in this little town. And no one, I read a whole book about it. It's called Startup Communities. And no one, the author in the book didn't talk about the fact that a lot of the business that these startups were hoping to capture were related to this whole ecosystem that was grounded by this General Dynamics, or it was some kind of big defense firm, big defense contractor. So there's a lot of mythology surrounding that. But that doesn't mean that you can't use EdSat to figure out how to work with the resources that you have at hand and to collaborate with others, with regional institutions, regional economic, regional educational institutions, with the high schools. You know, we're doing this whole vocational technical education report right now. With you know, you mentioned that there were the what's the name of the company that you mentioned where there were 2 locations?
Oh, Medtronics.
Medtronics, right. You know, that's nearby. There could be more services that could be developed for those 2 nearby
I
firms.
hate to mention one rather large IT company that's very nearby, okay? And all you have to do is look at one map, which is available, having to do with commuting, and you'll find out the impact of this very large company. More importantly, its business model on the town. The name of the company is IBM. They have very large facilities sitting right near the Common. It is by far probably the premier research center, one of the 2 in the world for IBM. Now, you look at a map and ask, where are the people who work in that building, which number in the thousands? And if you do a commute map, then ask, where do they go quitting time? You will see the map fills up inside of Route 128. And in Littleton, I think there are 9 dots.
Of where people who work
They
there
live.
Yeah, that's one of the questions on EdSat.
Yep.
They really do ask very
Mhm.
granular questions
Yep.
of that sort. And there should be a way of, over time, keeping them here and using the services in local businesses here to employ people.
You could just hire me and start and get.
And then there's
10 dots.
also HP. There's HP.
And you start going
What's
down too
HB?
many, you start going too many
HB,
rabbit holes too.
Hewlett-Packard.
because-
Yep.
Oh, what'd you say?
You start going down many rabbit holes with that. You know, there's certainly a way to get more people into a town. That's build more houses, one example. And how does that go with the grain of the town as to development, whether it's economic? And if we view housing development as some offshoot of economic development, which is pretty much the way Mike's wanting to produce this, where this, as he says, economic with a capital E concept across the entire town, how does it support that structure? And then how does the town grow based on it?
But
Yeah.
Paul, years ago, when digital was here, before HP,
That's when they did Sanskrit, Rich.
digital seemed to have everybody living in the area where they were working or in the town adjacent, and they kept building buildings around their workforce. So,
Well, what came first, the chicken or the egg?
the idea,
Of what?
the concept.
Well, we know there's 3,200 residents, households in the town, 9,200 give or take people living in the town. And if IBM's in the 2,000 and short change, is that the right number? I can't remember IBM's exact
around
number. It would take more houses, to get more, or people who work downtown either get a job, when I say out of town, let's put it that way, either get a job at IBM or leave town, and someone that was working at IBM moves into town. And to me, that's more net zero than a net plus.
I'm going to throw this out there. Maybe we don't have the right kind of residents for the people that work at IBM. Maybe they're looking for small houses that they don't have to maintain, like the tiny house neighborhoods, or ours, the 40 Rs, where you build them small.
One thing about IBM, IBM had many offices around Massachusetts, and they wanted to consolidate into a campus, and that's here in Littleton. So the people who worked in all these different offices didn't necessarily move out of the houses they were. They commuted to Littleton, where they used to work. Like there was an IBM
Demographic.
in Hudson off of Route 9. was right by the exit, the Cloverleaf, used to be IBM. That moved to Littleton. And I've got to say that as an former engineer, I always wanted to locate myself where the easiest position to get to different companies. Because if, when I graduated, the university said, you're going to move 7 times because you're going to go into 7 positions in different companies. Today, they're telling students 14 times before you retire. You can vouch for that. And so you want to locate yourself in a position so your commute to these different companies is efficient.
Yeah.
Okay? Littleton is very good because you go east, south.
Yeah, north, south, yeah.
Yeah, it's very good.
And for
Okay?
tech.
And IBM put themselves there because, probably that reason.
Yep.
Okay? And so if people to come into Littleton, if you want to attract engineers, then you're going to have to set up the environment for them. Okay?
So this
It's
is
also
one,
the age of the office park, and that
Correct.
is changing.
this is,
Something
so
to take
that's-
into account. And I also wanted to,
Hold on one
I'm
second.
sorry, just wanted to say one more thing, and that is something that one of you said, touched on this. Tastes are changing. We talked about this quite a bit in the housing report card that we put out in February, I think it was. People are preferring smaller homes and walkable, what's called walkable urbanism. And, you might be able to attract more of these people who actually work here if you offered more of that kind of housing.
Just, Maren, you had something?
Okay, I was going to build
And
on-
alternate transportation.
Right, two things. I was very pleased to see that in the presentation, it does mention master plans and how
Yeah.
this ties in with
Oh,
the
yeah.
master planning. And then the second is rather than have us guess what the employers in town might be looking for, this would give us the opportunity to go and find out.
Yeah. And for them to come to the meeting and have this as a document that they can point to and say, see, this is what the location specialists say too.
That's
You know,
good
there's a-
summation. Thank you. Shows applicability of your work and that at the Dukakis Center. And certainly, you can see there's interest around this table for that sort of work. And then also as to how it reaches out and helps inform us better. So if anybody doesn't have anything else, I'd like to thank you very much, Catherine.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure.
Hope to see you again.
Thank you very much for coming out.
Sure.
Appreciate it greatly.
I enjoyed it. Yeah, hope to see you again. While you carry on your meeting, I'm just going to slip into the restroom before I hit the road.
Thanks, Ann.
Thanks, Mike. Thank you.
Okay, cool.
Would you like to talk to us about social media?
I sure would. Okay, so I sent out screenshots of the draft of the page that I created, which we briefly.
Is that the one you need?
Yes. Like a panic.
Is this the one that does have the connector?
Oh, no.
This is the one that does not.
You got ours, 232?
Yeah, that's an old fashioned,
No, this is the new. This is a.
oh, no, yours is new, are the connectors?
Oh.
There's one more over there. Is that that one?
Where am I going? This way?
I think so.
Oh, I think that's. Kirby's probably upstairs going, what's that? I'm sorry, Kirby.
No, she's not.
I thought there's only one USB on here.
Yeah.
There's only one USB.
You should, I think you have a micro.
6X.
It's like back in the old stereo systems in college, you know?
Why is it here? Violate security. See, I think you have a micro, this is a pro?
Surface area.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Sorry, doesn't matter. Well, like this, oh, that's a perfect one for us.
Yeah, just weird. It's not what I'm looking at, but.
That's perfect for us.
There's no function at 4, so
Extended.
this button.
It's up to Wilderness House. It's the road up to
The function
Wilderness House.
button?
Oh, okay.
There's no function button.
FM and the.
Okay, well, we got it all through email, so, but please,
Sorry, I literally don't know how to explain that. This is what I see.
it's very good.
No, it's because they're extending the display. You have two displays actually. It's automatically configures to that. So you need to either consolidate the display or transfer the.
Yeah, what he said.
Okay,
Is this a Mac or is this a?
it's a Chromebook.
Chromebook.
Oh. I don't think, does Chromebook have dual?
I've never used dual
Thank you again,
monitors on
Catherine.
it.
Safe trip home.
No,
Thank
it's,
you.
it's embedded in the video card actually.
Maybe if you know.
Yeah, I don't think they put that kind of card in there.
Yeah.
Somebody's on the committee. One reason.
They're working well in the schools.
It's great, I love my Chromebook. Except when you get to share out in a meeting. It's like,
Is that a Google operating system?
School committees bought a lot of them.
Yeah,
for
it's a
their kids.
cool operating system.
Yes, we are.
I have no clue.
Blame the software engineers. Blame the software engineers.
Yeah.
Blaming some system engineers right now back home.
Ah, right.
You see, you're extending here. So mirror. No.
That's okay though,
Less success.
or maybe not.
Plug me right in.
So now you're mirroring.
So, meanwhile, I killed lots of trees. We did,
What-
we have copies of
What is this,
the
what is
master
this
plan
plugged into at
report.
this
I'm
end?
old school, I like paper.
Yep.
I mean, are you plugged from?
Those who did ask for hard copies of master plans, if you
Where
just
is this
want to
plugged
take it.
into?
All right, let's do this. It's not,
It's
all
definitely, that thingy was my.
right, this is the master plan update committee, not the IT committee.
Okay,
So,
yeah.
go ahead and just talk to us then.
Okay.
Please.
So,
There you go.
hey.
Thank you.
So
Oh,
you
now
need
I have to
watch
look
that,
up there. Okay, I can do this.
All right, so she.
Thank you.
That's the.
You're a team.
He's earned it. That was an indoctrination, very well done.
That was just a test, see if you can figure that out. You passed, good job. Okay, so sent out screenshots in email because I can't give you guys access without making you administrators, and I didn't want to just go and do that without asking anyone. So I left it unpublished and screenshotted it. But basically, just looking for any feedback and kind of next steps. And I don't know if we got much feedback. I think we got looks good. I don't know if there's any questions beyond that, but maybe to give a real brief update to our newest member, we were talking about using social media to, communicate out at minimum what's going on and how Facebook would be a good option to do that because you don't necessarily need to log into our public page. So I drafted this up. It's
Yep.
totally open to input. I'm not married to any part of it. It's just a draft. So,
Criticizing Facebook sites and websites is the easiest thing to do, but doing them is hard, so I really appreciate what you've done.
oh, thanks.
I really appreciate it. And this is just a very subjective call. This looks, the photo, can we change the photo?
Of course, you can change the big photo, the little photo,
By
the
agreement,
wording.
not by me saying so, but I would like to have something a little bit more dynamic and less old-fashioned. If possible, I don't know if you can do this on Facebook yet, but have basically a changing photo site. In other words, where it changes every
No.
several
think
minutes.
You need to do that manually.
Yeah.
We do that.
Really?
On a website.
Oh, that's right, we're not in Taiwan. Okay, so it's a static thing. So someone would have to go in there every.
So often,
Yeah.
which is actually a nice thing because that actually gives notification that you're doing things and will
Yes.
draw people to your site. So making the changes is,
Yeah,
it will
just that,
save.
yeah, graphics, something that, eye candy,
Yeah.
Yep.
real eye candy.
I'm totally open to image suggestions and I'll keep digging for more dynamic, less.
Firefighters and work belts and all that type of thing.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Good
Maybe some
firefighters.
police department guys
Within
doing the same thing.
our fancy new police department. See, it's hard because every time I thought of something, I thought,
I
okay.
made most of that stuff up as I was saying,
Oh,
so don't go in there.
okay, all right.
Got
The
a
point?
point, yeah.
Can you rotate pictures?
Yeah,
That's what you just
Yeah,
asked.
we need to do manually.
No, but you can put more than one photo too, if you so choose.
You can
Yeah.
do,
But they'll all be still.
yeah, they'll be
Yeah.
still, yeah.
One here, one there, one here, one there, so.
All right, let's get to the basics, though. Facebook certainly has a structure, and we want to use Facebook because it is useful. And so many other people have learned to use it, and they don't like some particular photo on it, but they still go to it because the information is there.
Yeah.
And then what we do as Facebook members also, in inviting other people to join.
Are you on Facebook, Paul?
Yes. So what I'd suggest is far away ahead to think about
we
is.
friends?
We use what Melissa's done up to this point. We stopped populating it. The synopsis that you're doing for the meetings, I think would be a good content for this, to put that up there. And then every time, and then the minutes go on here also. There's no reason we can't do that, right, Matt, Lauren?
Should be fine.
Yeah.
Actually, the synopsis will actually be better here because there are some constraints put upon us by the Independent in terms of what they allow for submissions that, like people that are at the meeting. So we can actually almost do a better synopsis on this because we're self-editing instead of.
Yeah.
True.
Cool. Yeah, but then like meeting minutes, so a link, and that gets updated. I think what Melissa has going for us, it's something to launch at least. And then we'll get feedback from folks in town too. And that could just be one of the questions put out there. Okay, Littleton, you see what we put up here? Give us some ideas as to how you think this page could help us better publicize and then bring in folks. And then build it that way too. Because, not to completely slam your brilliant idea of a more dynamic picture, I saw that and actually, very mellow, idyllic, a Littleton that a lot of folks actually do want to see.
I'm nothing against a picture.
No.
I'll bring it up. You guys want to go to sleep, it's fine, just every once in a while,
Anyway,
They want
are we
pictures
okay
of the
to
G-string?
go that?
No, not that extreme.
Yes.
So,
But in between.
I think just one administrator. If we're all administrators, I don't know if we start getting into meeting law land also. I just don't know the answer.
That's probably something
So
I
it's
need
a
to
question,
figure out.
we could certainly ask, but who knows what the answer's going to be. We know one way to control it.
Keep it simple.
Yeah, Roger. Do you want to continue as the
Sure,
administrator?
I'm happy to.
All right, let's do that then, please. And then as weeks go by, if you have an idea, drop it to Melissa then. If you
Yeah.
have a picture,
Yeah, exactly.
send her the picture. And I'd offer, we give her carte blanche to update it as she feels necessary going along, that we don't need to have a meeting and discuss what's going to go on that page each
So
time.
moved.
I'll use good judgment, I promise.
Yeah.
Of course, you're going to get all the blame for everything.
That's okay, that happens quite regularly.
That's the collateral benefit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's all
I
good.
think there are some good photos from the Littleton 300 book. I don't know if you could ask the
Yeah.
Historical Society, see if you can get some photos.
Maybe start
from
building
them.
the album too.
Yeah, absolutely. I like the idea of rotating the photo, maybe it happens, at the meeting, hey guys, what do you think about these three? Are you guys telling me what you like? And we pick one for that 2 weeks or whatever.
We
Yeah.
have to avoid photos with people in them, correct?
Probably. I mean, it's a good question. I can research that.
Yeah, if somebody's at a public gathering.
I think you're
Not
fine.
public.
Yeah.
I think a meeting would be fine, but in just terms of like candidates in the street or something like that, I don't think you can do anything like that, or because it's just professional.
Can we take stills off of the video feeds?
Yeah, you can screenshot it, pause it, screenshot it. Get
They
something in mind.
tend to be fairly dark.
Yeah, they might be gradient,
Oh, they're too dark? Okay.
but I've done it.
Could we have like an update every week? Or every time we meet?
Actually, if you join Facebook, you could get an update.
No, you
anytime
don't
I
even
wish.
need to join. You can
That's a
check.
good point.
Yeah.
You
No,
just-
when I leave here tonight, I'm gonna go in and take a look at how to do that. And that's, it's probably time.
Well, that's my kids, that's how I ended up on it.
Am I the last one in the room?
Perhaps.
You may be.
Oh, my God.
You're one of the neighbor kids.
Look, you're only 6 months behind me.
Okay, do we want to discuss anything else on Facebook then, folks?
No.
I only have one question, and that is, where do we send people who want to give feedback and questions? Do they?
Mary?
You, why not for now, you route them to my email.
Okay.
That would work.
Let me just see. I want to Just finish. And those, oh yeah, by the way, what I was trying to say is some of this stuff as an administrator I see, but people wouldn't like add phone number. They won't see that. You guys will see what people will see. But I think that's the only question.
I would say find a box where you could put the members of the committee on there.
I
So
think
folks don't
let's
miss.
just check here. I think
Did I
I
miss
did
it?
that.
There you go.
Yeah, you have found it.
The longest.
Also did a naked search on Google, found it, so it.
Oh, good.
Yeah, yeah.
Really? Okay.
Sorry,
And I
just
need
got
to
that.
add our newest member. Okay.
I found that sublist inside your thing.
That's weird. Okay. Okay.
I hacked it, I have to admit.
Oh, okay.
You can do that stuff?
All right. Got it. What's the
One other thing
plan?
on social media, Paul, sandwich boards. And what I was going to suggest is, at least once a month, we put a sandwich board out, saying that we're going to meet tonight.
Who's gonna wear it?
Can we make you the POC for it? And work with Keith to get one out there?
Yeah, I don't have a
No, we
sandwich.
have them in town, and check with Keith, please. Even though we're a committee, it's still best to go through Keith, because there's a permission process to
Yeah,
put
well, listen,
the
somebody's
signs
got
on the
them.
board.
Yeah, and all it needs to
So
say
talk with
is,
Keith then on that, please.
okay.
All right, who tweets? Who's on Twitter? I got back on the other day. I'm
I
still
saw you
figuring
did.
it out.
I followed you. I was stalking you.
But that's, I know not all of us do it, but it's certainly a way. I mean, if you saw the news tonight on the tweets, you know, a Red Sox great was fired from his job because of a tweet, so be careful. Schilling, suspended, excuse me, yeah, better word,
Suspended from what?
from Little League broadcasts. The point is,
What do you say?
Look it up, look it up.
the point is, it's prolific. It's out there. We have presidential candidates that use it. People use it to communicate. Rightly or wrongly, 140 characters get people's attention a lot more than 140 words do.
Well, that's wrongly. That's very wrongly.
That's very wrongly.
Yeah. You said rightly or wrongly, it's very
Oh, I'm
wrongly.
sorry. Yeah.
You're right, but
That's
it's
what we're
wrong.
living in. But you use it with links. So you get your, blast out there with a link, and then you get people to go where you want them to go.
Yeah,
So,
that's true.
all right. Okay, anything else on social media for this evening?
What about that website? There was a town, help me, that had a website.
Town of Harvard.
Thank you.
We had gotten the contact information for the two people that helped with the master plan Town of Harvard website, and kind of wondering what the next communication should be with them.
Next door Harvard?
Yes.
Well,
Yeah, not the university, town.
but that was a whole other question, was the website next door.
That's what I was.
Oh, right.
That's what. The,
But that sounded very interesting.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's
you're
different.
I apologize, Gary. I thought you meant the town of Harvard next door, and you're
Me-
speaking
me
about the
too.
website next door. Yeah. Apologize, yeah.
So,
So-
yeah, so we have their contact info, so what's,
so what's the next step with that?
yeah.
All right, well, let's transition, because you've already done some outreach to Harvard.
No,
Westford.
Westford, yes.
Melissa has spoken to some folks in Westford also, and her question was whether to maybe just pick their brains a little bit first before actually inviting them here. And personally, I think that's probably a good idea, start there, and then based on your thoughts, just as Mike did, inviting Catherine this evening.
Do kind of an initial
If you think it's a
triage.
good idea, make the invitation.
Same with the website, guys.
Yeah,
in Harvard.
please.
Yeah, okay, no problem. I get Chris tomorrow or Thursday. He had to reschedule. Oh, that's Westford's master, well, he's not the master plan guy, but Westford tomorrow or Thursday. Okay, great, we'll do. I'll let you know how it goes.
All right, Chairman of the FinCom contacted me, Bits Bowling, and we have conflict with FinCom scheduling. So Maren, as you've seen, has done a complete reschedule for us. And Maren also made a pretty darn good recommendation for us to consider, do we need to meet twice monthly? Before we get into our RFP questions this evening. What do you folks think?
Meaning, should we decrease frequency?
Yeah.
Or
Well, not until we get the RFP. Well, let's look at the schedule on the RFP. I don't have it with me. But it's got some, RFP has some critical dates that
Okay.
we have to meet with this committee on.
Folks, your thoughts? Keep it at the same frequency then? For now?
I mean, I like the idea of revisiting it, and I think that there'll be times where we can slack down
Uh-huh.
in anticipation of slacking back up again. And when we get a chance to take a breather, I think we should take a breather. But Rich, I think Rich is right. I think, the RFP is
Yeah.
kind of a big deal.
Is there's some dates on that RFP, and the dates where we review things, I don't have, like I say, if we could sync our meetings with them.
One thing is,
With-
when the holidays start, there's going to be a lot of company parties, and that's going to probably interfere with some of us.
Keith, just plan your company party on another night.
My company will have it.
There's always conflicts.
Just to walk you through it, what I did was we have the finance committee schedule now, and what I just penciled in was when this meeting room would be available. And so some of the dates are going to be the same. December 8th and 22nd would be the same, but for example, September, the two meeting dates we had scheduled were the 8th and the 22nd, and Finance Committee is meeting both those nights. So that leaves the 1st, the 15th, or the 29th available.
It's tonight, the 25th.
Yeah.
All right, recommendation, because we're always, all of us are always going to have a conflict. I don't think we need to meet on the 1st of September, so go with the 15th and 29th. And then,
Okay, I'll be away for the
You're up.
15th, but I'll be back for the 29th.
all right, so we have to take care of ourselves, it's going to be hazardous.
I have faith in you.
Misplaced, but nonetheless.
Who will help us get the agenda posted? That'd be the most important thing.
We can ask Keith to work with Jen.
Yeah, let's do that, please. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, here's what I'm going to recommend. Everybody's got a hard copy of what Mara did, as far as the
Yes.
schedule goes.
Missed that one.
Is there any plan to have, to actually reach out and bring public actively in at any of these periods of time?
Yes. I do have that.
I was just thinking of the room size, not anything else.
Yeah, that's been a problem. Good call.
No, I don't mean tonight. I just, are we going to be, if we get more aggressive and if we are successful, the two conditions.
Yeah, that's the same one.
I think success will be when we actually have the pro on board,
Okay,
when
So-
we start scheduling those
Okay.
larger meetings.
okay.
Okay, on the October one, you said the 20th is available? Were there no other dates available?
Well, not that it's a Tuesday.
That's Tuesday. All right, Rich, think we can get by with one in October?
You're right, Rich, you need a lot of activity.
It's hunting season.
You asking me, Paul?
Yes.
I don't have the copy of the RFP, let's see.
It hasn't changed from that time last week. Yeah, issuing it in September 29.
All right, here's what we'll do.
Yeah.
And then, actually, in October, if that's the case, if you issue it September 29th, it wouldn't be typically that much stuff going on because it's the proposal period time, so there's much to look at, because they're all in their offices putting together proposals.
Yeah.
So I guess could be okay with this one.
I was going to suggest, the dates that Marion has put down here, we go ahead and schedule for now, book the room.
Yeah.
We do not do 1 September. On the 15th, we re-examine second day in October.
Yeah.
So come prepared with your calendars to discuss something in addition to the 20th, okay?
Okay.
That's how we'll handle that.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else on the schedule, folks?
So-
Or who wants to speak?
So what we're going off of the schedule is what's handwritten in here then?
Yes, and I'm going to ask Lauren, if you'll
Okay.
put that in one typed for us, or format for us. And you'll take care of getting the room and all of that for us?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And Kirby, you can hear us too, so we'll be getting you the schedule also for LCTV. All right, RFP, RFQ. What are we actually going to call it? Let's start there.
Heard back from town council, Jenny Merrill in, at my areas in Harrington. Had a lot of time yesterday and today, spent quality time with the draft RFQ. It's now an RFP.
That's right.
On her recommendation, she made a lot of suggestions, and to me, the document has really come together as one, rather than pulling pieces from several different ones right now. I'm really pleased with where we are with the draft, but now I think it's time to get wider input from the committee members. If you have any questions, concerns, issues, get those.
Do you think our best approach now, though, since this draft has been changed, I dare say considerably, from what was originally presented to the whole committee through email is that we have an opportunity to review this and then our next meeting discuss?
Yeah.
Or do you feel qualified to discuss it at this point now?
No, I just got it today.
Yeah,
I agree. You're already ahead of me.
that's the next meeting for me.
I did have, I looked at the previous draft and I had quite a few comments on it, just in terms of how it was structured and presented and things. And so, how best do we do this? Because nothing gets written in the committee.
Send it to me.
So send any, like, if we have this in a Word version, so I can do track changes and things?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm happy to do a much better way of doing it that way then.
Okay.
Google Docs, we all jump in at one time? No.
No, I keep that up.
Okay, so that's the RFP, request for proposal. But I would like to thank the subcommittee for what you all did, because certainly you got the ball rolling. You gave, it's easy to edit, much easier to edit than create, at least for me personally. I've always been able to work on other people's work more easily than create the, great American novel. You could all critique Hemingway, right? We all did that in high school. How you got your English grade, you had to critique Hemingway. But he's the one that wrote the book, so. But very seriously, thank you, Rich, and then Paul, who's not available this evening.
And then just one request, when you're sure that you don't need the subcommittee anymore, just dissolve that so two of the members can talk to each other without
Yes, please.
violating the open meeting law.
But
That's
then-
one thing that we figured out with the subcommittee, when you're at that point.
And one of the comments we had was to decide if that subcommittee is going to become a selection committee, or is this whole board going to become the selection committee? And that's a down-the-road decision.
Yeah, pick it later.
Yeah, folks are still.
Whether it be the
Right.
same or
So-
somebody different
so
later
before we
on.
dissolve this committee, we should dissolve that committee after we make that decision. Mike?
We serve at the pleasure of the committee.
Okay.
If they wish to do, that's fine.
So Marion, you'll send out this as a Word file? And I know that the committees that I'm a liaison for have expressed interest in being interested in certain things, and so I would like to share this with
Oh, absolutely.
those, and so that would be, the time to do that would be now, because I have a good version now, is that correct?
Yes,
Okay.
that's a brilliant idea.
Okay.
There, if I'm not mistaken, there's one, there's a, not necessarily new, but an additional component in the description of the, of the organizing principle having to do with social capital. And in the event that some of you or all of you want another one-pager on what that may be, in case you're wondering, I have it ready. If you don't need it, I'll make it available to Maren, and then you can get it as you need it, if you want it.
I don't remember, did you share the lawyer's critique with all of us, or did you just send it to Rich and me?
Yesterday's
Email.
version, just the two of you.
Yeah, just the email piece, because there was rationale in the email. Look, share that with everybody, please. And Gary, to your point about going with, with other committees and the like and looking at, I think it'll help a bit of a framework, because the framework of the product itself has been through legal. Doesn't make that we can't change things, but think through some of that. If I remember right, your experience is more federal, right?
Yes.
As is mine. And what I have learned in my time on town committees here is the state way forward and the federal way forward are not necessarily on the same track. They're not necessarily on the same planet. Okay. But
That's fine, but there's fundamentally, when you're evaluating proposals, you want to identify one of the things I was looking at was the criteria.
Yeah.
The previous version had like 4 different ways it was explaining what the criteria was, and I would be hard pressed if I was doing a proposal to understand how I should structure it, because it seemed like it was all over the place.
Yeah, because the selection committee need not have written it. The selection committee can look at the criteria and a proposal and apply.
Right.
Yeah, so-
And so,
And I think that's one of the things that Jenny was able to do, was pull that together and make it more consistent throughout.
but there was also, I was looking at some of the other other RFPs that were done, and I liked how another town had expanded on what they were looking for in the elements, with a paragraph or two, and we just list them. And so I was going to suggest that be some enhancement of those elements to you gotta explain what we mean by these elements and what other things might have been already out there that are existing.
There was a purpose behind keeping it brief like that. And that is because these guys are the experts, and we want them to give us as much of what they know, because they've done this before.
Right.
And reading a paragraph underneath a title will just box them in more than,
Okay.
we want to see, we wanted to have them be as creative as they could with us.
Let's go down this road, though. Gary, offer the examples, and we see them, and you may go like, could have let's put it in there. Or, we have that discussion and say, maybe it's not applicable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's go that way,
Okay.
please.
That's, again, it's two different approaches.
And it could be a middle course where we don't get into, I don't need you to specifically say, evaluate current housing stock, and that seems very prescriptive, but just something that's a little more general that gives a person where we're going in the town and what we want you to specifically look at regarding housing.
Good.
Okay, do you want town council to come to the meeting on the 15th? Because Jenny has offered to get this document to, and we may not have to decide right now, but has offered to get the document to the endpoint.
Let's skip one with her and wait till you're back. Two purposes. First, you'll help us. But I think more importantly, we still have some of this discussion as to the sorts of things we may want included.
Well, and that's what we've found. There are two ways to use town council. One is after I'm done with it. The other is to get you from where you are now to where you want to be. Have Jenny, do the redraft.
I could see using her for that redraft on the 29th.
But I also know that
We've already.
we were trying to get it out the door on the 29th. So we'd be further behind when we want to get this out the door.
Actually, I feel pretty good with our goal of January. We're not in bad shape to make that.
Right. If one of these dates floats, then we just move all the dates forward by that distance.
And I still think January, early January is doable. I know it's Christmas holidays and the like, Thanksgiving before that, but these companies, they will be working if we make it noontime Monday deliverable, Sunday night, the company will be working on it.
No, I don't want to a rushed product is not necessarily a good product.
There's not been a proposal I haven't been a part of, whether sending it or receiving it, that the work wasn't done at the last possible moment.
Yeah, people will use whatever time you give them.
The people that will be applying to these have done these before. We'll get some people who are trying to enter the market, and we'll filter them out. And some people are going to be way too expensive for us. They'll filter out by default.
Hopefully, some of the people that are trying to enter the market will be pairing with somebody that's got a lot more experience.
Mix up to
and
them,
get this mix of new ideas and established ideas.
Okay. All right. Okay, anything else on that then? Our suggestion was made is that we get the old master plan, whether electronically or on paper, and everybody read it, and then we have a period of discussion that we go through that. The recommendation was page by page. I would offer more subject by subject, because you see there's a lot of pages there. Gary, you asked for that, right? Was it you?
Paul Glavy.
Was it Glavy?
Yeah, it was Glavy.
Oh, it doesn't count then. We won't
You
do
may be
it.
wishing it, but Glavy articulated.
I asked for a copy.
But I'd like for Paul to give us his thoughts, too, as to what he was thinking. I mean, got an idea, obviously, he wants to go through it, see what sounds good to us, what doesn't sound good, what have we been following, what have we ignored, followed badly, ignored rightly, or wrongly.
And actually, as I was making the copies and collating them, I was flipping through it again, saying, oh yeah, we did say that, and this got accomplished, and one of it was the economic, the numbers that you were looking at, the cost for services for housing compared to commercial and industrial. Those are in there, and it shows how it came from. And I hadn't remembered that that's where some of that information was. So even for me, it was good to take another quick look through it.
When do you want to do that?
I suggest I think the priority needs to be the RFP at this point. This I don't think will affect the content of what we submit in the RFP significantly, but I think it's important we have when we're definitely when the consultant's on board, but potentially when we're looking at their proposals, that we've had a sense of perspective of what's in the previous one, to see what things we want addressed, so.
Sounds good.
It can wait a little bit.
We'll tentatively put that into the October meeting then. All right. Anything else folks want to cover tonight before we go to minutes? All right, take a motion to approve the July 28 minutes and notes from August 8th.
Second.
I didn't make the motion, somebody's going to make it.
No, so
You
moved.
just made the words, there it goes,
All right, you
brother.
got this, you move, you second it.
So moved.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Entertain another motion to stay longer.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, we'll take that one.
So moved. Second.
Okay, motion made.
I wasn't
and seconded
listening?
To adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
No.
Thank you. Oh, sorry about being late.